I feel like cutting everybody's throat, of course. But, you know, to me, it's just like, I can't explain to you the horror of seeing a film mutilated, because the film was made with at a certain length to fill a need. That's a film. Now, I know that the Venus de Milo, she doesn't miss her two arms. I mean, but I bet she'd miss it if she didn't have a head, you know. And then it's like cutting. So I think it's a despicable thing to do for the television people to edit and cut a film indiscriminately in order to cut down to size. Lost Horizon has been made in 105 minutes. I mean, 65 minutes, 70 minutes, 80 minutes, 90 minutes to fill all kinds of time slots. They just take down. We need 135 minutes. They'll take the 135 minute or 125 minute or 75 minute version. That is not. That is an evil thing to do. That's like destroying any kind of a work of art, putting mustaches on some of Picasso's paintings.
How do you feel about the shortly to be released musical version of Lost Horizon?
Well, I'm hoping they do all right with it. There's nothing. There is a solid story to start with. There is suspense. There is a background, unusual background. So if they made music out of South Pacific, out of Pygmalion, out of many other, Oklahoma.
But you don't feel that they've snatched your baby?
I feel they're fooling around with my baby, yes, but I can't. I'm not sure that I'm not sure they won't succeed with it.
One of your other tremendous comedy successes was Arsenic and Old Lace, which had, multiple murders, insanity, barnstorming horror, the lot. And yet it was very fast-moving and very funny, and yet could very easily have toppled over into being rather distasteful. How did you tread this very fine balance?
Well, it is a one-joke story, you know, one body, then another body, and then 12 bodies, and that's the humor. And it is liable to be a one-joke story. Well, one of the things we did, we buttressed the play up a little bit with Cary Grant was already married to the girl, and she was waiting to be taken to Niagara Falls on her honeymoon. So that put a sort of a time element running against the story. And then we played not so much on the women and on the other. We played the whole horror against a sane man, Cary Grant. And he was just, I mean, it was his sanity that made the thing funny, and his reactions to these two little old ladies whom he loved very dearly. When he found out that they were murdering people, I mean, so I think those 2 points kind of helped to keep it from a one-joke proposition. Plus the wonderful performance by Raymond Massey and Peter Lorre. They were.
Yes, I believe Boris Karloff at one stage was scheduled to do it, wasn't he?
Yes, and we made up Raymond Massey liked Boris Karloff, and I got a big joke out of it because the little doctor, he hated looking like Boris Karloff.
Later on, you formed your own company called Liberty Pictures to make It's a Wonderful Life, which I know you consider to be one of your best movies, and yet which some critics found over-sentimental. Being, if you can, strictly objective, do you think it was really as strong as Mr. Smith or Mr. Deeds?
I think it was probably the strongest picture I've made. I think it's my favorite film, because what it does is it epitomizes everything I tried to say in all the other films in one package. I think I never have run across such a unique story as a man who thought he was a failure, being given the opportunity to come back and see the world as it would have been had he not been born. A very unique fantasy. And finding out that he was not a failure.
Yes, I have a feeling that is where the first rumbles and accusations of sentimentality first began to appear.
Oh, I thrive on that, rumbles of sentimentality. Critics are notoriously unsentimental, they think. I know that the way people react, I know that the colleges and campuses I visit today It's a Wonderful Life really throws them.
But how do you personally react to a bad criticism? I mean, can you remember occasions when you opened the morning paper after the preview and you got not maybe a bad review, but a critical review? How did this affect you personally?
It's like drinking arsenic. Of course it affects you. You want people to, you must understand, we all have egos, and I have a very big one. And if somebody doesn't like something I do, some critic knocks it, I feel it. I feel it very badly. But it doesn't change me.
One of your last movies, A Pocketful of Miracles, had tremendous trade reviews and yet was a box office failure. How hard did this hit you?
Surprisingly badly. It was almost like another Lost Horizon, only I found no way to cure it. That one eludes me completely, why it was such a hit in previews. 5 previews we had, big hit, and why it was such a flop when it finally went out in general release. I have no answer for that. So my answer for it is perhaps it was coming to me, because it was the first time I ever did something for money, and put money above ethics, and put money above my own integrity, about my own artistic integrity. And so I like to think that's punishment.
Which directors would you say have influenced you most?
I don't think any directors ever influenced me. You see, I started out at a very small place called Columbia Pictures, and I didn't visit a major studio until way late in life. I didn't meet any of the big people at all. So I was my own teacher and my own student. And I taught myself with the camera and with the microphones. So whatever system I have of making pictures was self-taught, uninfluenced by other people.
If you wanted to make a last and hopefully definitive movie, what cause or sentiment would it espouse?
I think exactly the same sentiment that I've had in all my other films. Humanity to me does not change that much.
And if you had a one sentence, if you had one word of advice in one sentence to a young hopeful just starting in the movie business today, with all this happening,
yeah,
what would you tell him?
Oh, I think I'd say look up rather than down.
Who or what would you say has been the most consistent hindrance in your long career? Or who or what has caused you the most grief?
I think Frank Capra has caused me the most grief. I have nobody could. I never allowed any people to influence me that much, because as I say, I have a very big ego, and I don't think anybody could. I wouldn't admit to anybody influencing me. So if there was an enemy in my life, which I don't believe there was or there is, it was me.